Hey St. Catharines, Mayor Matt Sisko here, and welcome to another episode of talkSTC. Fantastic to be back with you, talking about all the great things that are going on in the city of St. Catharines and around Niagara. I do appreciate you spending a little bit of time getting to know what's going on in the community. A lot of cool stuff has happened since the last time I was here. I had a trip down to Washington with the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative at the beginning of March. It was a fruitful couple of days, good conversations. I managed to cause an international incident, which is always fun. But we had good conversations with congresspeople and with senators on Capitol Hill. And our organization was able to get in and have a conversation with the administration about the damaging impact of tariffs. It was very heartening to see that a lot of our American colleagues, the other mayors, as well as Congress and Senate, seem to believe exactly what we do, that the tariff issue is not a positive one, that it needs to go away, that blanket across the board tariffs don't make sense. And we are looking forward to seeing more movement from our provincial and federal governments as they work with the Americans to try and solve that issue for Canadians. With the weather improving, we've also had a number of different flag raisings at City Hall. In the last couple of weeks, I had the opportunity to raise the flag for International Women's Day, the Best Buddies of Niagara, as well as Autism Awareness. So we will be having more and more of those as the weather continues to improve. I also had the opportunity to participate in the groundbreaking ceremony for the Royal Canadian Legion of Polish Veterans Branch 418. That was fantastic, and it was also great to see that the new Legion, when it's complete, will be the new home for the Lincoln and Welland Band. Very good news, and great to see the support within our community for our friends with the band. I also participated in the annual Top Hat ceremony. This is the kicking off of the season of navigation along the St. Lawrence and the Welland Canal. You know that spring is here when the bridges start going up and giving us all our favorite excuse for why we're late for that meeting. Today on our episode, we've got a couple of great guests. Our first one will be Tim Herbert, who's the general manager of the St. Catharines Municipal Development Corporation. He's going to talk about what exactly the MDC is, because I don't stop talking about it, and why it's important to the city. So Tim, glad to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And then after that, I'll be joined by Pam Sharp. She's the Director of Development with the Niagara Children's Center to talk about the upcoming Help Kids Shine campaign that will run throughout the month of May. But first up is my friend Tim Herbert, one of our newest folks over at City Hall. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So you've got a seasoned leadership and business development background. You've been in private equity, you've been in institutional and private sector ownership, proven track record of driving strategic initiatives and fostering collaborative partnerships. You hold a Bachelor of Arts in Business from Brock University, and you are known for your ability to influence, mentor, and drive customer-focused solutions.
Yes, thank you for saying all of that. You know, when you hear things come back as to a long career like that, it is always interesting to look back and reflect upon those and now bring those to use for the St. Catharines Municipal Development Corporation.
That's fantastic. And we can make sure that we clip that part where I said the nice things, and you can use that wherever you need it.
Wherever I need it, and there are times that I will need that.
There you go. All right, so before we get into the details about the MDC, let's talk about you and how you came into the role.
Well, it's over the years, going back a number of years ago, I was involved with a group that looked at purchasing the air rights over some city parking lots. And it was a strategic decision that, as I had left the bank, because I had always had this entrepreneurial spirit and looking for different ways of doing things. And we looked at it, we did purchase them. There are 3 big buildings in St. Catharines as a result. It was a huge change, and it really changed the trajectory of my career and how I looked at things. And I'm looking forward to taking what I've learned in that development, amongst many others now, taking those experiences along with my banking background and leadership background and bringing it to the Municipal Development Corporation.
Yeah, and I mean, for folks that aren't aware, those were, I think, the first 3 new residential builds in the downtown in something like 30 years.
It was just under 30 years.
Yeah.
And the Municipal Development Corporation concept, that was the birth of it. That there was a way for private sector and the municipality to work collaboratively together.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I can say, so the Municipal Development Corporation, which you're now heading up as our general manager, was an idea, at least at the council level, that came from my good friend Carrie Porter. Right. She was a city councilor from 2018 to 2022, and I can remember our first budget meeting that I chaired after the elections in 2018. She brought forward this idea, and myself and at the time Mayor Senzik both thought it had some legs. We should investigate, and it took a couple years, but it's one of the I will take it as one of the signature achievements of this term of council that we were able to implement it with the help of the Housing Accelerator Fund. So now we have an MDC. Why don't you talk a little bit about what exactly the MDC is doing?
Well, the Municipal Development Corporation is wholly and solely owned by one shareholder, which is the City of St. Catharines. And what we are doing is, now that we've established the seed capital that came from the federal government's Housing Accelerator Fund, and we have some properties that have been or are in process of being transferred over from the city, what we'll do now is we're taking a look at underutilized city properties, and we're going to make those into affordable and attainable housing, which is so direly needed in today's marketplace. Definitely.
And you talk about those underutilized properties. I know this is it's a conversation we've had at City Council for a number of years. How can we make better use of those? You talked about the parking lots earlier and selling the air rights. A lot of people don't know this, but when we went through that process, we made the decision to put all of the air rights over municipal parking lots. We surplused them all and said, listen, if anybody wants to come forward. But the expertise at the city didn't exist to be able to actually go out and try and find those deals, to try and find those partners, which was why we created the MDC in the first place, because we knew we had these lands, but we weren't actioning them properly. And so you wind up with a parking lot that definitely brings you some revenue, but if you could develop residential on top of that, maintain the parking so you still get the revenue from the parking, but then add residential on top of that, well, now all of a sudden you're getting additional revenue, you're getting property taxes, you're getting a lot more out of that site than just the parking revenue. And I think that, from my perspective, is one of the big keys, is there are these underutilized sites and they're not generating anything for the municipality.
Well, and you've hit the nail right on the head there, is that they're underutilized. And when you do take a look at the city's portfolio of properties, there are many different ways to gain more. And the Municipal Development Corporation will be taking a look at those types of properties. You've mentioned parking lots. There's other municipal facilities that can fall into this category. But really, what the ultimate goal is to bring attainable and affordable housing, which will not only does it derive the tax revenues and the parking revenues and those sorts of things, but it brings people into the city, into home ownership or rental, whatever's required by the market. And I think it is important to recognize that bringing people into the 3 properties that are originally being transferred over are all in the downtown area. Bringing people living down there will change the dynamic of it and the requirements of services. It's really a job creation program as well.
Yeah, it really is. Now, one of the goals is that the MDC, which, as you pointed out, was seeded with Housing Accelerator Fund dollars, but one of the goals is to make it self-sustaining and profitable. Ultimately, we don't want this to be on the property tax base. We want the organization itself to be able to pay for itself. How do we go about doing that?
Well, that's where it is. You have to look at entering into the Municipal Development Corporation, entering into joint venture partnerships that they'll be part of for a period of time. It may be 5 years, it may be 7 years, it may be longer. But ultimately, that's how you can start to get some consistent revenues coming in that hopefully and ultimately end up in a dividend coming back from the Municipal Development Corporation to the city tax to the city tax base.
And I think one thing that's important for people to understand, because we talked a lot about the private developers that are out in the community, but there's also the opportunity for the MDC, and one of the things we're looking at actively is to look at the nonprofit sector as well, correct? So when we're talking about affordable housing, it's not just asking developers to build this out. We want to form partnerships with the nonprofits as well.
Well, I think ultimately, the collaboration and partnerships are with not-for-profit organizations, builders, developers, and I will add in financial institutions. And the municipality is already there. We're at the table. Your council and through previous councils has brought the MDC forward. We're at the table, we're ready to sit down and have discussion as to how we can make things better through affordable and attainable housing.
Fantastic. So 2025 is the first full year of the MDC. What do you think we have on tap for this year?
Well, it's interesting you say it's the first full year, and I know I did a report to council about the 2024. I started in late December.
Yeah.
But in 2025, it's an absolutely exciting year because there will be an announcement around the first project.
Yeah.
And coming sooner rather than later. And I know that you know that I'm actively engaged in those discussions right now.
Definitely. And we're also talking about, you've mentioned asset transfers. We've transferred 3 properties to the MDC so far. Give viewers a ballpark number. How many additional properties could you see transferred over the course of 25?
Well, currently right now I'm working on a list of 10 additional properties.
Yep.
I also have been in discussions with private sector owners
Yep.
who are looking at partnering with the Municipal Development Corporation. So I would say that I'm hopeful that to see somewhere between 8 and 15.
8 and 15 this year. That's
Yes.
phenomenal. And it's good news to hear, and this is one of the things I've pushed very heavily for. We talk about the MDC, and I've talked about it a lot over the last year because I do think this has the opportunity to be transformational for the city, not just for the downtown, but for the city as a whole. It can help us get closer to our housing goals. But it's important to have quick wins and, to demonstrate exactly what it can do early on because, there's federal elections happening and you never know how long programs are going to continue. The faster we can get the MDC to a self-sustaining situation, the better it is because now we're not dependent on other levels of government and funding that might not still exist. We can just get on with continuing the job.
And I know, Matt, that you're well aware that right from the get-go I said the ultimate goal is that this needs to be self-sustaining.
Yeah.
And at a more rapid pace than it was originally thought of. The Housing Accelerator Fund, I think, was a great, it's a great program. But again, those things are all in flux.
Yeah.
The Municipal Development Corporation, for the citizens of St. Catharines and City Council, the sole shareholder, we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet quickly.
100%. So if folks want to reach out to discuss potential partnership, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, please get a hold of me. There is a website, the www.stcmdc.ca, or you can also email at info@stcatharinesmdc.ca as well.
Perfect. Nice and easy. Tim,
Perfect.
Thanks so much for coming in today. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time to allow me here to speak about what the Municipal Development Corporation does.
Happy to do it.
Thanks very much.
We will be right back after this on talkSTC. And welcome back. Again, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of talkSTC. My next guest is Pam Sharp. She's the new Director of Development for a place that's near and dear to my heart, the Niagara Children's Center. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you.
A little bit of a bio. You joined the center just in January as the Director of Development.
Yep.
It's just a small task,
Yeah.
just a little one. But you've got more than 20 years of your career transforming Niagara's nonprofit landscape, most recently as the Executive Director of Project Share, where you led efforts to expand emergency food and support services for Niagara Falls residents. You are a lifelong Niagara resident. You began your career in advertising. You transitioned to nonprofit fundraising. You've earned your Certified Fundraising Executive designation, and you have a reputation as a relationship-driven leader in the sector.
Wow, it's like you've known me forever, Matt.
I was going to say, so make sure you clip that and you hold on to that. That's useful. That's useful. It's a useful clip. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so before we begin talking about the upcoming Help Kids Shine campaign, which is this May, let's talk a little bit about how you came into the role. How did you get to the Children's Center? You began your career in advertising and then you shifted to nonprofit fundraising.
Yes.
I can imagine a lot of reasons why one would do that, but tell me, what was yours?
You know what? That was my first job out of university and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I found the piece that I enjoyed the most was working with local charities to sponsor their advertising for their events. So then I started thinking, I wonder how I could do more of this and be more involved in it. Did a little bit of research, found some fundraising courses that were offered at Mohawk College, and decided to pivot a little bit and go in that direction, and haven't looked back.
That's awesome. So you were at Project Share. How long were you there for?
13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
What are some of the big accomplishments? Like, what do you feel when you look back at that time? What do you feel best about?
Oh, I mean, there's so much that has changed, and not all of it good, right? Unfortunately, the need for food banks has just grown exponentially in the time that I was there. But I think one of the things I'm most proud of is the collaboration with the fellow Niagara food banks as Feed Niagara.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, in this day and age when we're facing crisis situations, we have to do things differently, and working together is the way to be stronger and to support more people in our community. So that's a definite highlight for me of my time at Project Share.
That's phenomenal. Now, Project Share, for those, because this is a St. Catharines show, for folks who don't know, is entirely in Niagara Falls, correct?
Yes.
Now, I have to ask you this question. Did Jim Diodati ever have you on his mayor's show?
I don't think I was, no.
That's what I thought. So, Mayor Jim, I win. Moving on. May is Help Kids Shine, the Help Kids Shine campaign for the Niagara Children's Center. I have been very blessed. I've been involved with the center for a long time, so I know a lot about it. But for the folks at home who don't know about Help Kids Shine, give them a little bit of insight. What's the whole point of the month? What's going on?
So it is the center's largest fundraising campaign for the entire month of May, and centered around ambassador children and families who have been part of the center. So they share their stories, they help us to create some awareness and education about what the center does and how we help families in the community, and then that hopefully drives donations into the campaign, which help us to offer our programs and services.
Phenomenal. So full disclosure, my son Darius was an ambassador a couple of years ago, but the program is awesome, and I think it's the ambassador piece which is so important, not just because, I mean, I had been involved, but it was great to have my family involved in what we were doing. It's like that for all the ambassador families. When I talk to them each year, they just love that they get to be a part of helping a place that's been so important to them. But they love sharing the stories in the community, because we always joke, like, and this is... It's not really a joke, but it's true. If you don't have a family member who's been through the services at the center, a lot of people just don't know that it even exists.
Yeah.
So, like, how much of Help Kids Shine is about that, just building the awareness in the community?
Oh, absolutely, because the awareness and the fundraising go hand in hand. And it's really important for us that families tell their own stories, because it's their story to share. It's their experience. It's not mine, right? So it's really important for us to be able to have our donors hear directly from families what their journey has been and what the impact the center has had on their life. And it's amazing how many people the center touches. And I've really discovered this since joining the center. I didn't know a lot of people in my network have received services because, you know, they maybe use services for a short period of time and then their child didn't need the services anymore. And so, you know, that wasn't something that maybe was shared with everyone. And so now that I'm part of the center, people feel a lot more compelled to tell me those things. So I'm just really learning how far of a reach the center has. And I mean, over 6,500 children in the Niagara region received help through the Niagara Children's Center last year. So it's really incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And it's one of the things, you know, I have 4 kids. And of the 4 of them, 3 of them wound up through the center at one point or another. I talk a lot about Darius. My youngest son has very severe autism, and so we leaned on the center when he came to our family. It was just a guide, like, go here, do this, talk to these people, and it put our minds at ease and helped us, you know, as we were learning about his diagnosis and everything else and the things we need to do to support him. My second oldest son, Kanan, when he came to us, he had no core stability and he really couldn't speak. And I was joke, like, he's 15 now and he speaks 2 languages fluently, and he plays hockey and does CrossFit and runs triathlons. And so, I mean, the center helps him with occupational therapy and with speech and language therapy that otherwise he probably would have continued to miss milestones. And then my daughter, we were a little concerned about her ears and hearing, and so we went through the testing. But the center's there to meet people with whatever level of need they require, and I think that's the part of the message I try to get out to people as much as possible. Like, if you're concerned your son or daughter isn't hitting milestones, give them a call. You can self-refer to the center. Like, you don't need a doctor to send you along. So.
Absolutely. I think that's a common misconception because I get asked that often when I'm, speaking with donors and speaking with community partners is, do parents need a referral in order for their child to come to the center? And absolutely not. They can self-refer. And like you said, it's that, one-stop place where we can try to help them navigate whatever support their family needs.
Yeah, and like I said, my second oldest, it was a lot of support through the center. My third oldest, it was directing us to the services we needed to access, because at the time the center wasn't the place for that, but they knew where to go. And for my youngest, it was, giving us the peace of mind that, no, she's okay. Like she's not missing milestones yet, but, something to keep an eye on, and then it worked out. So it's whatever level of service you need, the center's going to be there for it.
Absolutely.
So Help Kids Shine, it's coming up in May. There's events, there's monthly giving. Talk a little bit about how the community can get involved with Help Kids Shine.
So May 8th is our Niagara Strikes Back bowling event.
Yep.
So we're recruiting teams. You can register online at helpkidshine.ca. It's $250 for a team of 4 to 6 bowlers at Parkway Social on Thursday, May 8th. We have a 5 o'clock or a 7 o'clock start. So it's the second year for that event. Had a lot of fun with lots of families and donors and community partners there last year. So we're really excited to bring that back and to offer a second time slot this year because we only had the one last year. So that's our first big event. And then, just looking at the campaign, hearing the stories, we're going to be live on a lot of media throughout the month, sharing those stories, helping to educate the community. There's opportunities to give online. There's opportunities to support our specific ambassadors. They'll all have their own fundraising page if, you feel compelled or connected to any of those ambassadors to make a donation in their honor. And monthly giving. This campaign is occurring during the month of May, but we really need the support year round. So, we've got a wait list of over 3,000 kids we're trying to help. We want to be able to offer additional programs and services such as our rec therapy and our family engagement programs that aren't covered by our ministry dollars. So those monthly donations really help us to be able to rely on that ongoing support to offer those programs.
Well, and it's that something you just said at the end there that I think is so important for people to understand. There are ministry dollars that come through to the center, and a lot of what goes on at the center is funded through the provincial government, but not everything. And that's the reason why Help Kids Shine has always been so important to me. I had the benefit, I was on the board for 10 years, so you see the finances and you understand how much money is being spent, but then you understand that wait list piece. And what did you say, over 3,000?
Over 3,000.
That's been something, from a board perspective, it's been something we've wanted to tackle more and more every year, but the ministry dollars only go so far. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the government. They have definitely increased their funding over the last 4 or 5 years, and that is always appreciated, but it doesn't change the fact that there are services we still need to fund through development dollars, and that's why the month of May is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I will say, you mentioned Niagara Strikes Back.
Yes.
I am going to now look directly at the camera to my municipal colleagues out there in other municipalities and to the mayors of other Niagara municipalities. You've received an email from my office, and you will receive a follow-up email challenging you. I look forward to seeing municipal teams from across Niagara coming out to take on Team STC as we out-bowl all of you, frankly. But I want to see you out there and helping us to raise some money for the Niagara Children's Centre at Niagara Strikes Back. I had to just throw that plug in because I sent the email and I want to make sure they actually read it.
Oh, that's great. We appreciate it.
So what's the impact for the campaign on the center and the clients? Like what does it wind up doing for them every year? You touched on it a little bit, but...
So our recreation therapy program is fully funded by fundraising dollars. Yep. So that's our Volt hockey program, our Challenger baseball program, our aquatics program that we're able to offer at the center, and our modified, activities. So things like our accessible Easter egg hunt or, PD day outings. So like we've gone to the movie theaters, we've gone bowling with center families on PD days, and really trying to make sure that kids have all the opportunities that they need to thrive and grow. And that includes having fun and building friends and being with families and fitness and all of those fun things that they really do need. Yeah. So recreation therapy fully funded by donor fundraising dollars, as well as family engagement. So that is our program that supports the entire family. So the parent peer-to-peer mentorship program, where we're matching somebody who maybe has received a new diagnosis or is just coming to the center with a parent who has been a part of the center, so that they can feel like somebody else has gone through this as well. They're not alone, they feel supported, it helps them to guide them. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and certainly that program is a big part of a lot of the villages of the families that come through the center.
Yeah, can't say enough good about the Family Engagement Network. I know the number of families I've talked to who've been a part of it, who appreciated the help in the beginning and then wanted to pay it forward, you know, when they were working with families that were new to the process and new to what was going on at the center. So it's fantastic. Challenger Baseball, like this is one of my absolute favorite things in the entire world. Can you touch a little bit on Challenger Baseball? I know, is there still a partnership with the Blue Jays?
There is. So we do have some support that comes through the Blue Jays Care Foundation. So equipment or hats or things like that are supported through that program. But from what I hear, it's our most popular recreation activity. So I'm really excited to see that happen. We've already started registration for this year, and they've done some indoor training already. So I'm looking forward to getting out to the field and seeing that program in action. That's
fantastic. One of the best stories I can remember from my time on the board was talking to a dad who, you know, his son was in a wheelchair, and growing up, like they weren't sure if he'd ever be able to participate in something like that. And then Challenger Baseball came along, and they were able to get out on the field and to play baseball. And like the dad's in tears talking about how, you know, when you're the parent of a child with special needs, you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know what the trajectory is going to look like. And sometimes you want to believe that you'll be able to have some of those memories that, you know, other families have, and to have some of those experiences, but you don't know if that's possible. And Challenger Baseball was a thing that for that dad and his son, like it gave them that memory, that bond of being out and just playing baseball. And I'm a baseball guy, so that one hit me, and I remember like the floodgates opening up the first time I heard the story, but I come back to it every time. And that's why Help Kids Shine is so important, because it's, you know, the funding for things like that, to give kids and their parents and their families those experiences, I can't think of anything more important in the world to be raising money for, which is why I love being a part of it, and I love that I get to continue to be a part of it. They kicked me off the board because I got to my time limit, but that's fine.
Well, we're glad to have you on the campaign cabinet still, though.
I'm glad. What's your vision? You're new in the role, but you've got another year. So you've got a number of years in front of you. What are you looking forward to?
I mean, the vision of the center is really what drew me in to being a part of the center. Is, you know, Niagara's children and youth at their best. So who doesn't want that for our kids and our community, right? So I'm really looking forward to being a part of it. You know, I love hearing the stories from the families that come through and share that, you know, they've seen their child do things that they never thought possible because of the support of the center, or they'll refer to our therapists as their extended family.
Yeah.
And I mean, where do you find that, right? Where somebody's considering a healthcare professional as part of their family. So it's really a special place, and I'm really looking forward to being a part of it. In terms of my vision, you know, I'm still learning a lot. Like I'm still new. I'm excited to experience our campaigns for the first time. So Help Kids Shine, and then my 7-year-old son is super excited about the superhero run that'll follow in the fall. So
nice.
Looking forward to, you know, being a part of those, and then we'll see what new ideas I have after that.
Awesome. The MC for the superhero run, fantastic human being. Pam, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We will be right back after this on talkSTC. St. Catharines, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of talkSTC. I want to thank Tim Herbert from the St. Catharines Municipal Development Corporation for chatting all things MDC. I want to thank Pam Sharp from the Niagara Children's Center for talking about the Help Kids Shine campaign. And I want to wish everybody out there a happy spring. Get out there, enjoy the nice weather as things get better. I look forward to seeing all of you all around the community, and I'll see you next time here on talkSTC.